WRUULP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. I just want to let everybody know that you are now listening to Savannah Lexicon, and I hope everybody out there is having a good start to the morning. Hope you've been listening to some good Americana music here on WRUULP. Just in case we've got some new listeners just now coming in, I do want you to know that it's official now, as hopefully you all know, that WRUULP 107.5 is now, in fact, broadcasting on the radio, which we are very excited about. There was a little article in the Savannah Connect yesterday, and we are really happy to be doing that and hope that we're listening, that a lot of people are listening to us. And now it's so much easier. You can listen in the car as you're driving into town or going to work. You can listen on your radio at home. And, of course, we are still streaming live as well. So you've still got that option, too, on your laptop. So we are happy to be doing that. And Savannah Lexicon, if you are new to the radio broadcast, we are broadcasting from the heart of Savannah's downtown historic district. Savannah Lexicon is a show designed to inform the listener about important social, political, and cultural issues that shape Savannah, as well as about opportunities to experience things in and around this beautiful city that might bring an added measure of grace and joy to your life. I will speak with representatives of the local government, as is the case today, and also to social service organizations, cultural organizations, educational organizations, and to artists, writers, craftsmen, and women, most anyone who can shed some light on how to live a well-informed, full life here in the most beautiful city in the nation, Savannah, Georgia. All right. So you're doing well, Nick?
I'm doing great today.
Good, good, good. I appreciate you coming so much. Nick Helmholt, and correct me with anything I'm saying, but if I get it wrong, but Senior Comprehensive Planner for the Comprehensive Planning Department of the Metropolitan Planning Commission.
Yeah, you got it.
I got it. Okay, great. And so you guys recently, the Chatham County and City recently officially adopted this new comprehensive plan.
Correct, yes, in January and February of this year.
Okay. And this is a big, sprawling plan that gets into all sorts of things, and we will never do it justice in the time we have here today. But we hopefully can have you help us get a good overview on it, and and I'll have you back if you'll come back. You may not come back after this, but hopefully you will, and we can kind of dig into it a little bit more, because there's a lot of planning going on in this county and city.
Certainly.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I thought I would start off with this. Let me just read from the executive summary, if I may. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure most folks out there have a sense of this and what's going on and the planning that's already going on. But I do want to fill in here. So this coming from the executive summary, and by the way, I should go ahead and say that this is accessible at the Metropolitan Planning Commission's website, www.thempc.org, and to get directly to this comprehensive plan, it's /DPT for department /comp for comprehensive. So www.thempc.org /abbreviated department abbreviated comprehensive, DEPT COMP. Anyway, if you just go to thempc.org, you will be able to navigate to it from there. I'll also tell you that there is an excellent video that if you kind of Google perhaps something like Chatham County Workshop blueprint, comprehensive plan, something along those lines, you should come to it.
It's on the Chatham County YouTube page. If you find that, it should be listed there.
Okay. And tell us exactly what that was.
Yeah, so that was a presentation that myself and Tara Jennings made for County Commission back in February. We have some new commissioners, as you may be aware.
Sure.
And we were bringing them all up to speed on the comprehensive plan, its background, its origins, and implications for development moving forward, and answering some of the questions that the commissioners posed to us. So it's approximately an hour-long presentation with a little bit of Q&A afterwards. And if you really want to get steeped in comprehensive planning and its origins in this area, I think it's a great way to do that.
It is. It absolutely is. Take a look at that. I mean, this is your city, folks. This is your county. So try and stay informed of this stuff, and it's great that so much is out there. Plus, the documents themselves are online and downloadable at MPC as well. So whichever way you want to go with it, the video is a great way to do it that way, and then you can also literally download the comprehensive plan itself. So lots of good information out there. So, again, from the executive's summary, it's a new comprehensive plan that document that guides the community's collective growth and development decisions over the course of the next 20 years. So it's set up for a long-term perspective. A general statement of intent regarding actions that will be taken or policies which will be observed to promote locally generated and preferred goals related to economic development, land use, transportation, housing, quality of life, and other interrelated topics. So obviously a broad document, a broad perspective on the development of the county and the city. I'll also note that it's noted as a living document and should be updated regularly as conditions change.
Correct. And actually, state law requires us to look at it every 5 years. So
Okay.
We'll be coming back in approximately 2021 with a new version, and we'll be working on that in the coming years.
Okay, excellent. Well, as I say, this is a big, sprawling thing, a lot of stuff in it. And so we can just kind of go over some of the general overview of it, I guess. And one thing that I did notice, too, is that you guys really very proactively sought public input on this.
That's correct. And there were really kind of two processes on that. One was at the direction of the county through the Chatham Community Blueprint. Mm-hmm. They instructed a group called the Coastal Georgia Indicators Coalition to develop the document we call the Blueprint, and as this county strategic plan. And that process was over a year long of gathering input, working with stakeholders, reaching out to the community on topics they thought were of high importance. And because the county is also involved in the comprehensive planning process, we've basically modeled our plan around the goals of the blueprint. So that's one track of our public outreach. And then because the state has some specific requirements about what has to be in a comprehensive plan, and frankly, we just need to have these things in place, we also did some outreach around other topics specific to land use, housing, economic development, infrastructure, and other interrelated topics in the environment and historic preservation. So there were sort of two parallel outreach tracks with it, and that really accumulated in about July of 2016.
Okay, and you did some very interesting and creative kinds of ways of getting some input, and I noticed I'll point out that you asked A.J. Perez and Emergent Savannah at one point to help sort of work on one of the community sessions that you had.
Correct.
He actually has a show here on WRUU, I'll point out. It's from 7 to 8 once a month on the fourth Monday of the month, A.J. Perez, Emergent Savannah. So you guys actually use them to...
Yeah, we worked with them. We did what we called a public open house. We had a morning session and an evening session. back in July. We invited anybody from the community who wanted to show up to attend. We had a lot of ways for people to participate and provide feedback. Most notably, and I think the most important for us, was our roundtable discussions. We had 4 topics we thought were of particular significance in this plan that we wanted to gather input on, and really more and go a lot deeper than the sort of typical survey questions that we had been using, which tended to force people into a series of choices. So we set up roundtables on the topics of commercial corridors, affordable housing, sea level rise, and public transit, and really wanted to do a deeper exploration into what sorts of things people in the community wanted to see happen on those topics.
Well, all right, let's try and dig into this a little bit, and in terms, because I noticed in some of the documents that you have, what would you say were some of the, in general, and I guess we could go topic by topic, but just in general, what were some of the most ardently desired things to be included in this document that you got from the public?
Sure. Yeah, our public outreach. We've got a little one-page synopsis of our public outreach that we definitely, kind of summarizes some of the things where we saw the most agreement on questions. I'll say, one thing we saw that surprised us a bit was the level of support for conservation around coastal areas, and particularly to protect.
Hallelujah!
Yeah, yes.
Glad to hear that.
To protect our community against the threats of sea level rise and other coastal hazards. As we witnessed here in October, that's not a theoretical thing. That we really are exposed to substantial hazards from weather conditions and our coastal situation here. So we're working on policies and ideas around that. In fact, I believe next week we're starting a program called Resilience Dialogues, which is going to help us formulate some ideas around what we can do to actually bring some of these ideas into policy. So.
And how will you conduct those resilient dialogues?
That's I understand you got Nick Duffley on the show, and I think that'd be a good question for him because he's the one who invited me to participate.
Oh, all right.
So,
I'm
going to punt on that one.
He's okay. That's fine. Yeah, he's coming. He's coming next Tuesday with the officially, what is it? The
sustainability department.
Sustainability department. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that too. All right. So.
We also, and back to the original question in terms of what we saw from the public outreach on this, we saw a pretty strong desire for more protected open space, whether in the form of parks or conservation areas.
Good.
We saw pretty strong desires for improvements to make it safer for pedestrians and bikes to get around Savannah and Chatham County.
Okay.
We saw definitely trying to recall other some needs for different varieties of housing that are affordable for folks in a variety of groups, whether they're
yes. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So 75%, according to one of your documents, 75% is affordable housing. Very important.
High important. Yeah.
Okay.
So
absolutely, it is.
Yeah. So
I can tell you from paying rent.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So those were some of the big takeaways, and certainly we gathered a lot of important feedback on various topics. We also had a open response where people could submit various ideas and thoughts, opinions that weren't necessarily clearly able to select in some of the survey responses, and that was also very useful as it really pointed to some of the gaps and areas where we had missed things in our early drafts.
Okay. So. All right, and so I'm just thumbing through here some too as you're talking, and I'm noticing some of these. Does current housing meet the community's needs? 55% say no, and and you touched on this actually, but over 70% of respondents feel there should be a significant increase of investment in sidewalks and trails, road maintenance, and as you were mostly pointing out, parks and open space. So that's those are some high numbers. I think 74% and 60% of respondents feel the availability of high-paying jobs and educational opportunities are not adequate. So that's another big area.
Yeah, certainly economic development is one of the core pieces of the fundamental of the comprehensive plan. It's partly because it's required by the state to have an economic development component, but also because it is vital for the longevity of our community here to have a healthy economy where people are able to pay their rent, for instance.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah. However, also 57% respondents want less hotel and motel development, which is a hot button issue these days around here.
That's correct. I believe it'll be on today's City Council workshop agenda. So if you're not to take listeners away from WRUU, if you're really specifically interested in that topic, it's in front of the council today.
Okay, listen, that's worth leaving the show for. Okay, so no problem with that. All right, so I don't know, how would you like to approach this? Can we talk about, we're talking about economic development, some of the goals that you mentioned here, develop apprenticeship and vocational programs.
Yeah, and I think the goals is really whenever I'm introducing the comprehensive plan to somebody who hasn't had a lot of exposure to it or is new to it, I generally point them toward the community goals chapter, which is chapter 3. If there's 6 pages in the plan that are worth reading, slowly and carefully, these are the 6 pages you should start with, because it really lays out the long range vision and specific goals we'll be working on over the next 5 years. And I think this really does drill down into where we're going to be seeing changes within the community that are going to impact people's quality of life, housing options, the land use decisions, and so forth. So if you're like most people and you don't have time to dive into a thick plan, jump right to the goals, and that's where you're going to find that. And we've really got 9 categories of goals, as we've mentioned here: economic development, land use, housing, transportation, community health, education, public safety, natural resources, and finally our historic and cultural resources. So those are nine broad categories.
And you've got, as you're alluding to those particular pages, I mean, you've got nicely bullet point, on the main, the main issues there and the main perspectives.
Right. And if you've got appetite for more, we have there's a chapter in the back of the plan that describes our strategic plan, and that really dives into the concrete steps that would be used, that we envision using to achieve these goals. So and we actually report our progress on those steps annually to the state of Georgia. So expect around January, February of next year to see an update on the MPC website with our progress report. So
wow, it never ends, and it shouldn't. It can't.
I
mean, things keep changing, and
correct.
Yeah,
we're adapting constantly to our changing situation. So
okay.
Yeah.
So, working off of that, economic development, as I say, develop apprenticeship and vocational programs. What's a couple of the key elements on economic development?
Yeah, certainly. I think, on the economic development one, the apprenticeship one is something that's been pretty widely publicized. You've seen some of the things around things like the Summer 500 pre-apprentice program and so forth. And we're working to make sure those are sustainable programs that can go on. We're also looking at some of the other issues in this category. Access to employment is really critical for our younger population, making sure that they have opportunities to get start building their resume, start getting experience, so they can get higher quality jobs in the future. On the entrepreneurial growth, we're finding some interesting connections here that we weren't expecting. Working with groups like the Savannah Development Renewal Authority, and looking at some ideas of what they're generally calling these days pink zones, which is sort of light red tape, and finding ways that we can accelerate some of our entrepreneurial growth through looking at ways we can smartly and effectively decrease some regulatory burdens.
Right.
So,
okay. Good. Yeah.
So we're exploring that with that group. In terms of business communities that are inclusive and have diverse opportunities, this really is speaking to making sure that everybody in our community has the opportunity to, start a business or, find employment, and making sure that we've got a workplace situation that's fair for everybody in the community, and regardless of where they come from or their background. One of the interesting things, and I think that is really important from the standpoint of the MPC, is this concept of viable commercial corridors. We've got a few target areas that we know we need to think more carefully about, how all of our regulatory mechanisms work together in these, areas such as the ML King corridor,
Right.
Waters Avenue, and a few others around the city, where we're looking at, how we can optimize development and investment in those areas, and make that useful for the neighborhoods that are surrounding it and for the community at large.
Right.
So that's one that for the MPC standpoint we're going to be focusing on. And then you're going to see this final bullet point in economic development. You're going to see this actually this theme actually cut across a lot of our different goals.
I noticed that.
Yeah, establishing transparent processes and procedures for the delivery of effective and efficient economic development policies.
All for that.
So one of the interesting things, and it didn't make sense to capture it in its own topic, was this theme of transparency.
Yeah.
And this came out of the Chatham Community Blueprint and their outreach, and finding that there was really a high degree of desire across the board for greater levels of transparency and openness with government processes and procedures. So you're going to find throughout the comprehensive plan we reinforce that in various places.
That was another thing I was really happy to see, because absolutely, I mean, it is our government, all of our government, and so transparency and that sort of thing, that's a key issue. I was happy to see that too. All right, and anything else you want to say particularly about economic development? I will ask you, though, too, because this was actually an issue or a question brought up at the meeting that you gave, was about business buy-in or buy-in from the business community. So what can you say about that?
Well, I can say there's one thing that really informed a lot of this section was the Chatham Community Blueprint and the outreach that the Coastal Georgia Indicators Coalition did with the Chamber of Commerce, with the CETA, and with other local businesses.
Economic Development Authority, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. We get in the tendency to use acronyms, and
that's all right.
CETA is the Savannah Economic Development Authority.
Yeah. Most people probably know that, but you never know.
But you never know, and it never hurts. So that a lot of that outreach happened with those organizations, and they've been in the room and at the table, from the very beginning in the development of this plan. We've had one-on-one meetings with the chamber to discuss, how this plan looks, and to discuss any concerns they had. We've definitely been working side by side with our local business community to make sure that they're on board with the goals we're establishing. And
you would say a good percentage of them are? Good portion of them is?
If they aren't there, I'm not hearing it.
Okay.
So
all right.
If this is, we're definitely hearing generally agreement. So
good. All right, so maybe we should move on to like land use and just what do you think is most important here?
Yeah, certainly. Well, and one little thing to note on land use is one of the chapters of the comprehensive plan, titled Land Use, includes our future land use map. This map is sort of the underpinning for zoning regulations in the city of Savannah and unincorporated Chatham County. So, should you want to rezone your land, or your neighbor wants to rezone her land, the process by which you go through that is first looks at what the future land use map indicates for that area.
Right.
We have about 23 different areas, I should say districts, in the future land use map, and that's a sort of a process unto itself that you could look at that could potentially be a whole nother topic to explore. But that's just one thing to note about land use is there is sort of a separate policy piece that's not in this goals chapter. But within the future land use goals, we have some general overriding themes that we look at. Multimodal transportation. I think the interface between transportation and land use is so important, and if when it's done when it's executed poorly, it shows. When it's hard to get someplace because either traffic's backed up or you can't walk there because there's no sidewalks or the bus stop is too far away. Those things have major impact. So we need to think carefully about the interface between land use and transportation. We also talk a fair amount about the extensions of the downtown area to making sure that they match the scale and design of the Oglethorpe plan. And yes,
which
has been in the news also.
You just approved the Savannah River landing request, and I have to say it stretches the Oglethorpe plan, but it's still in that vein. I mean, it's things are a little different now, but it still maintains that primarily that system.
Certainly, yeah. It's maybe not. It's definitely not 100% of the civic master plan that was laid out initially for the Savannah River landings. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of a general consistency, we found it was generally consistent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's an exciting new development that's coming along, and I guess it's probably going to be sort of years in the making, really. But
I don't know the exact timeline off the top of my head, but it's certainly a little ways out. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad again to see that the plans are cognizant of the historic scenario here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then one other area that we'll be working on regarding land use is neighborhood planning. So this is looking at more specific area plans for either small neighborhoods or collections of neighborhoods that have generally similar traits, and seeing how we can adopt policies that really help accomplish some of those neighborhoods' goals. So.
Good. Okay. All right. Anything else about land use, particularly at the moment? Now we also got the Kessler project, but
Correct.
I guess that's all approved and
under construction.
Under construction.
That's full speed ahead. Yeah.
That's a huge thing. And as I understand it, the general plans are that going to stretch further on out on the west side. For sure.
It's certainly the direction of development and the interest. It tends to be pointing that direction in terms of western expansion of the downtown area.
Yeah. Because when I was there at the groundbreaking for the Kessler, I heard the mayor talk about in like 5 years, you won't believe the change that's going to be out on the west side. So we'll see. Okay. All right. Anything else, particularly on land use, you need to hit?
I think we covered a pretty broad spectrum. I'm going to switch gears a little to transportation.
Okay.
So one of the interesting aspects of the comprehensive plan is we also lean on a few other adopted regional plans regarding various topics, and transportation is one of those. We really use the Metropolitan Transportation Plan for the entire county to inform that.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. And you talk about sustainable transportation system that serve all modes of travel. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I think for a long time, in the planning and engineering fields, there's been a pretty strong focus on auto-oriented planning, making sure that everybody can drive everywhere, and for better or worse, that's led to the environment and some of the situations we have now, both with parking, congestion, and other sort of challenges of urban life. So realizing that it's not feasible, nor is it a viable solution to continue to widen roads and require more parking, we're looking at ways that we can accelerate people to use more alternative modes of transportation. That's walking, biking, taking the bus, carpooling, and one of the sort of unsung heroes of the transportation changes is the internet. So much of what you may have done in a car 10 or 15 years ago is now done through online shopping or
That's true.
online banking.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that there's really more opportunities for people to live, and work and do all the things they need to do with fewer car trips. So we're trying to find ways to optimize that in our area.
Okay. All right. Anything else particularly about transportation? Are we good there?
I'll just say that the counterpoint to that is that Savannah relies heavily on its port and its airport as well. So we those are vital underpinnings of our economy. So we definitely reference those in our transportation plan as vitally economic importance to the regional economy. So we want to make sure that the infrastructure is in place there to make sure those facilities operate and function and do what they need to do to make sure our economy is thriving.
And it's a good note on that you have that we have the CAT airport shuttle. That's a nice thing.
That is a nice thing. Yeah, it's a nice little way to get to the airport, and it's very very reasonably priced. So
yes,
yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And a bit on housing. Wow.
Yeah. And sort of like transportation, this segment of the plan is informed by something that the city develops for the Department of Housing and Urban Development, federal agency, called the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan. And you're going to hear probably more and more about this plan in the coming months as the city is in the process of updating it. But we really lean pretty heavily on what the city prepares for that plan to develop our housing component, and then looking at it through the lens of other outreach and other feedback we've gotten from the public.
Okay. Okay. And again, provide affordable housing for all levels of income within the community, including the homeless, disabled, and elderly, and integrate housing, transportation, land use planning. So, okay.
Yeah.
Taking a good...
Yeah, on the homeless front, you may have seen some of the programs they've done in terms of looking at tiny houses and other formats of housing to accommodate our homeless population.
And we do have one.
We do have one, and I expect that the Homeless Authority will be working to expand that effort. So that's one initiative that we know is moving forward currently. Okay,
good. All right, Nick, I'll tell you what. Why don't we take a little break and just a very brief musical interlude here and let us catch our breath, and you can go get some more coffee and come right back and listen to more of Savannah Lexicon here on WRUULP. So we won't be gone long, so just hang on just a minute for us, and we'll be right back.
This portion of WRUU-LP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by a grant from Sentient Bean, offering fair trade coffee, vegan and vegetarian food, and breakfast all day. Located at 13 East Park Avenue, across the street from the tennis courts at Forsyth Park. Our menu and special events listings can be found at sentientbean.com.
You are, in fact, listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. Good to have you back. And you are here with Savannah Lexicon. This is Wayne, as always. And we are pleased to have with us today Nick Helmholt. I'm saying your name correctly, I hope.
You got it.
And again, your precise title is?
Senior Comprehensive Planner with the Chatham County Savannah Metropolitan Planning Commission.
Okay, and we have been looking into the new version of Chatham County City of Savannah's comprehensive plan that they accepted and adopted officially early this year.
Correct.
And we're kind of working through an overview of it, and there are great sources for you online to get a grip on this as well. So just be aware that is out there at the MPC.org, or wait a minute.
Yeah, you got the
MPC.
Yeah, the MPC.org, and if you go to the Departments tab, click on Comprehensive Planning.
Okay.
Right there, you'll be able to download either the entire document or an individual chapter, or the future land use map all by itself.
And the video is at?
It's on the Chatham County, Georgia YouTube page.
Okay, and that's a great way to get a dive into this as well. But we're talking about it here with Nick today, and we've run through several of the major topic areas of the plan, and including economic development, land use, transportation, housing. We've talked a little bit about all of those. We're now kind of touching on to what?
We call this section the quality of life section.
The quality of life section.
And,
okay, so the whole section is,
we do that, partly as a convenience to the state of Georgia, which reviews our plans. The first four topics we talked about are all required by the state for us to address in some fashion.
Mm-hmm.
The remainder of these are topics that we've incorporated because they're aspirational for the county and the city, and they're not necessarily components that the state tells us we have to examine. So this is sort of you might think of it as the icing on the cake, but I think a lot of us would think this is the important part.
I was going to say, I think this is absolutely as important because quality of life. I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Right.
The quality of life section, 5 focus areas: community health, education, public safety, natural resources, historic and cultural resources. And again, I'm happy to see that these topic areas are, being addressed in this kind of thing. So, community health?
Yeah, certainly. This is new for comprehensive planning in our area. We haven't really addressed health as specifically in this format up until this plan. So this is a bit, and that's exciting, I think, from the standpoint of planning in this area, because health is such a vitally important aspect of what makes a place great. And we've looked. This came to us again through the Chatham Community Blueprint process, which looked at 4 topical areas, and health was one of those topics. And so the blueprint really informed our vision for community health and the specific goals within that topic. So we look at a whole range of topics, including access to health services, improvements to mental health, health practices in schools, and regional collaboration amongst healthcare providers. And I think the one topic here that I'm really excited about, and I think we really want to hit the ground running on, is access to healthy food, which is the final bullet point.
Yeah,
under
I
community
noticed
health.
that too. That's a great thing to have in there.
Yeah, and it's one of those areas I think is a bit underappreciated in terms of its effect on people's lives. If you're able to get to a store that sells fresh produce, if you're able to go to, just have options in your daily habits that improve health through the food choices you have. It can really make a huge difference. So I know there are several initiatives that are going on. Several of them are aligned closely with the work that Healthy Savannah is doing, that are trying to find ways to really expand access to healthy food in all parts of our area. And unfortunately, it's a bit uneven. We have some areas where we don't have the grocery stores and fresh food markets that other areas have.
Yeah.
So we want to find ways to make that more equitable across our area.
Good, because there is some unevenness in Savannah.
Yes,
that's so. To be thinking along those lines is a little bit of an evening out. That's a nice area, and increase to healthy food, and in farmers markets and
certainly farmers markets. We're very lucky to have the ones that we do have on Forsyth and Wilmington.
All right.
We've also we want to find ways to expand opportunities for things like community gardens and urban farming and various other ways that we can make sure that healthy food is available and accessible to people throughout the community.
Good. I'm all for that. Great. All right, education. That's obviously a key, and again, that was an issue brought up. During the meeting, is there buy-in? Is there?
Yeah. The county commissioners certainly zeroed right in on education as their top priority during our February workshop with them. And again, like health, this is a topic that's new to the comprehensive planning framework and comes to us from the Chatham Community Blueprint outreach and development of their plan. So they've Tara Jennings and her organization have been working closely with the school district and trying to find ways to improve education outcomes throughout the county. And so the goals and visions here really are informed by that process. We've definitely got some important things we've got to focus on in this topic, and we've been working closely with Tara and her groups at the Chatham Community Indicators Coalition to make sure that this comes together. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A couple of things here. Implement mentorship programs between employers and students. What else?
Mentorship programs are key, and we've been working with some of the groups that do job placement and work-based learning in the school district and finding ways to help advance and grow those opportunities. The sort of the life skills is another topic that we've focused on, and generally looking at things like financial skills, social skills, conflict resolution.
Yeah, that conflict resolution skills. Let's work on that big time.
Yes, absolutely, so you'll see some of these goals have harmonies with other aspects of the plan, and that's certainly one where we want to make sure it's synced up. And then parental involvement is a final goal that we look at, and finding ways to make sure that parents are engaged and active in advancing their kids' development. So, ultimately we have, we work really closely with the Coastal Georgia Indicators Coalition on this because they've really, kind of spearheaded a lot of the dialogue inside the school system and with some of its peripheral partners to make sure that we're working toward improving our education outcomes. And one other piece to throw in there, this really is important from looking at our economic development standpoint. We really need to have a educated workforce that people are coming out of school and they have the training and the knowledge to start working and and working right out of high school. So
absolutely, because there are jobs available here.
Certainly,
there are a lot of jobs available, and we need some folks who are capable of dealing with those and make good good employees. And so we're hitting two back-to-back, the two biggest areas of most concern, in my opinion.
Sure.
And this is just strictly my opinion. And by the way, any opinions I ever give here are not necessarily the opinions of WRUU or anybody else, but they're mine. But, of course, we're talking about education, and then we're jumping to public safety.
Yeah.
Boy, the crime issue.
Certainly. This is something that, has been in the headlines and in the news, and, statistically, we're unfortunately have a lot more both violent crime and property crime than we'd like. And, certainly we want to see that situation end. So again, coming out of the Chatham Community Blueprint as one of the visions that they've developed, looking at public safety as a goal within that, we've targeted a couple of areas where we can focus from the planning perspective and finding ways to reduce crime and improve trust between law enforcement and residents. And expanding the visibility of police to make sure that residents feel safe. So that's our goal area in public safety. We're looking at ways to make sure that our community is a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. And that's unfortunately not everybody can say that that's the case today. So we're looking at ways that we can partner with our police, sheriff's office, and other organizations to reduce the crime rate. One initiative that I think you'll be hearing more about in the coming months is it's abbreviated MARC, M-A-R-C, and it stands for the Multi-Agency Resource Center, which and this is an initiative that's driven by the juvenile courts currently. Mm-hmm. And the concept here is to find a way to basically divert youth who are maybe tending to go toward a path where they might be involved in the criminal justice system at a rather young age, and get them to instead channel that energy into something that's productive and useful and creative, and within and legal.
Yes.
So you'll be hearing more and more about the MARC, I believe, and be happy to share whatever resources we have on that. So
absolutely. Okay. That's a crucial thing. So hopefully we're working there.
Yeah.
All right. Natural resources, another big area.
A huge area, and one that is of particular importance to our department at the MPC. We focus on issues relating to stormwater and drinking water. Mm-hmm. We look at issues, a variety of natural resource issues in terms of our ecosystem services, solid waste, tree plantings. The natural resource area is it's a bit sprawling in its scope. We have a wide variety.
Yeah, big area.
But exactly, we depend on the air we breathe and the water we drink, and we're really looking at ways to inform policies around those to make sure that those resources are protected, not only for the humans who live in this area, but all of the great wildlife and flora and fauna we have in Chatham County, which is truly a blessing in our area.
Absolutely.
So
okay, good. And I'll no doubt be talking with Nick Deffley next week with the City of Savannah Sustainability Director Nick Deffley, who will certainly be getting into some of those topics, and I'm sure that you work with him. And
we do.
And, yeah.
Yeah, we work very closely with Nick and with his counterparts at Chatham County. We also work closely with the Georgia DNR and the Department of Natural Resources and other affiliated organizations. In fact, we just recently worked with some folks to submit a grant application to NOAA, the National Ocean and Atmosphere Administration, to look at some other natural resources opportunities. So,
all right, that's a sprawling area. We certainly can't do that justice here today. So we'll move on. But I'm glad to see that that you're putting that much thought and focus into that area for sure. Then we're talking about historic and cultural resources, which is so much of both the beauty of this fine city as well as the economy of this fine city.
Yeah, it really is one of the underpinnings of our economy in looking at the impact that tourism has, the impact that development in our historic core has, and real estate investment. So it deserves a specific, I think, special place in our planning perspective because we really are, unlike a lot of other places, both in Georgia and across the country. We have an amazing resource here, and it's
indeed,
if we don't protect that, it will not take care of itself necessarily. So
that's right.
We're and beyond the most famous, the landmark district, we're also looking at some other opportunities to look at our cultural heritage and other things that we can focus on here. For instance, some of the districts that are outside of the landmark district that we can find that are significant and culturally important. So
okay, I'm glad to see that as well. All right. Again, as I said at the beginning of the show, there's no way in the world we're going to do this justice, but at least you get an overview. You know where the resources are. If you've been listening, I hope you've been listening. If you've been listening, where resources are to look at this yourself. This is obviously something that is of crucial importance for anybody who lives here or has anything to do with this city. So, I encourage you to look at it and inform yourself about it, and kind of as the process goes along. I did want to bring up a couple of issues about this. Number one, all right, in your own words, just explain, because there's a lot of planning going on out there, and that's a good thing, but I just want to get a bearing on it. So SDRA.
The Savannah Development Renewal
Now
Authority.
I'm doing it. Savannah Development and Renewal Authority.
Correct.
They have put out a plan of sorts. Now tell us the distinction here.
So you could think of comprehensive planning as sort of a big umbrella, or a wide area, and it really forms a foundation. And now I'm mixing my metaphors.
Well, that's all right. That's all right.
It forms the foundation for a lot of other planning and development activity. So it paints with a wide brush.
Right.
So then there are more specific plans that are developed around specific topics or areas.
Right.
And sometimes both.
Right.
So, for instance, the plan, I believe, that made some headlines last week regarding that came out of Savannah Development Renewal Authority. They were looking at some rather specific questions with regards to housing and development in the downtown area.
Okay.
We look at those plans and see how they align or maybe sometimes don't align with other ideas, and we work with those groups as they do that.
Okay.
The MPC also develops other plans, our transportation plan and various other small area plans. You'll see probably more of that activity in the coming few years, those are looking at more fine-grained issues.
Okay.
With respect to things like urban form. So.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the biggest. This is basically zoomed out as far as you can zoom out with the comprehensive plan.
Okay, but all of that, of course, brings in, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot here,
not at
but brings in the whole idea of spending $100,000 for a Colorado firm to develop the citywide comprehensive plan. I don't know. What do you think?
So how it's been explained to me is that I know they've used the word comprehensive in there, and it may be confusing. I think the real initiative there, and what they're really looking at, under my understanding, is sort of their internal operations and how their organization makes alignments with the city's goals and vision. I believe there was a Connect Savannah article a few weeks back that did where Brett Bell explains it, I think, and does a pretty good job of lining up how the two are related.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it definitely, it can seem a little bit of a head scratcher, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
We work very, very closely with the city, and we understand that, their process is going to be in alignment with the visions that they've agreed to with the comprehensive plan here. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but it does give one pause when you see that. You need to delve into it and really see what's what. But we didn't really explain it. I'm sure most everybody knows, but the city has chosen a firm in Colorado to develop a citywide plan.
I believe they're calling it a strategic plan.
A strategic plan, okay.
Yeah.
A strategic plan, okay. That's cost a little bit more than $100,000 for that. Mm-hmm. But maybe we need every plan we have and can get. But it's something to think about and to look into as a citizen and resident of Savannah.
Certainly, and I my understanding is that will be getting underway here shortly. If it hasn't, they're going to have some kickoff meetings with city staff here moving rather quickly.
So, I mean, is it a done deal?
That this Colorado firm?
Yeah.
That firm's been hired, yeah.
Okay.
My understanding.
Right. Okay. Well, so they're getting even, in a sense, more granular?
They're going to look, and my understanding is they're going to look at city operations, the city, the way the city works in a sense. And, we're all a bit curious to see what the final product is going to be. But it's going to look a little more fine-grained at city operations.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, hang on with me just a minute if you would. Well, I'll try and we're getting into the very end of the line here. And I just I was going to try to make some notations of things going on. There's always such great stuff in Savannah that is happening. I will note that there is a rally in Wright Square to demonstrate opposition to the repeal of the Affordable Care Act and the Republican replacement plan proposals. That's free Saturday, April 1st, 12 to 2 at Wright Square. There is a Facebook page about that if you want to check in to that. And I think also some interesting things that I didn't know about. There's a couple of things coming up with the Historic Homeowners Academy, which is associated with Savannah Technical College, where they are offering some blacksmithing classes, for instance, and historic millwork. I mean, it's just nice to know this stuff is going on in Savannah, Lots of good stuff. And, of course, we are still in the magical land of the Savannah Music Festival going on, which is continuing throughout at least another week here, and some absolutely great music ranging from Chicago blues to classical Mozart, Ike Stubblefield Trio, some jazz, Richard Thompson and Sarah Jarrows, if I'm saying her name correctly, Hiss Golden Messenger, and Sounds of Kalachi coming up. There's some great stuff there as well. Okay, we are going to have to close it out. Nick, I appreciate so much you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I really appreciate it, too.
All right. Well, I hope we can get you back. I hope I didn't scare you off with all this craziness going on around here behind the scenes. Yeah. But everybody, have a good day. This is WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. Listen to us next week, Tuesday and Thursday.